It's late. The house is quiet. Everyone around you is asleep, and your brain is louder than it has been all day. You're thinking about the conversation you had 3 days ago. You're running through tomorrow's schedule like something terrible is about to happen. You're aware that you need to sleep, and that awareness is somehow making it worse. If that is you, I want you to stay with me. Because what is happening to you at night is not random. It is not weakness, and it is not permanent. There is a specific clinical reason your anxiety behaves this way, and nobody has taken the time to explain it to you properly. That's what I'm going to do right now. My name is Dr. William Clark. I'm a psychiatrist practicing in the United States. I see patients every single day, people who are intelligent, who are functioning, who are holding their lives together, and who come to me describing the exact same thing you just heard. This video is educational. It is not a substitute for individual clinical care, but it is the explanation that I give my patients in their first session and that most of them tell me nobody had ever given them before. By the end of this video, you are going to understand 3 specific reasons your anxiety is worse at night. You are going to understand what is happening neurologically, not in complicated terms, but in terms that will actually change how you experience it. And I'm going to share one thing toward the end of this video, something I tell almost every patient I treat for anxiety. That tends to shift everything. Stay with me for that. Before I explain the science, I want to describe something, and I want you to notice whether this sounds familiar. During the day, you manage. You go to work. You handle the emails. You have the conversations. You make the decisions. You take care of the people around you. From the outside, you look completely fine. Some of you listening to this are considered the reliable one, the capable one, the one other people come to when they need help. And then you lie down, and something shifts. The thoughts come, not gently, not one at a time. They come like a loop that you cannot find the off switch for. You replay things. You rehearse things that haven't happened. You catastrophize, and you know you're catastrophizing, which somehow doesn't stop it. Your body is tired. Your mind is not. And the later it gets, the more desperate that gap feels. The patients who sit across from me describing this use almost identical words. They say I'm exhausted during the day, but the moment I lie down, I'm wired. They say I know my thoughts aren't rational, but I can't turn them off. They say I feel like I'm failing at something that should be the easiest thing, just sleeping. They've tried scrolling their phone until they pass out. Meditating, sometimes it helps, mostly it doesn't. Having a glass of wine. Telling themselves to stop worrying. Watching something until they fall asleep. And most of them have been told at some point by someone who meant well, try to relax. Have you cut out caffeine? Maybe you just need to exercise more. You worry too much. What they have not been told, what I want to give you today, is why. Not advice, not another technique. The actual reason. Because understanding why changes everything about how you relate to it. There are 3 things happening at night that make anxiety significantly worse. The first is something I call the removal of distraction, and it is the most immediate, most powerful factor for most people. The clinical term is attentional narrowing. What that actually means is this. During the day, your brain has a job to do. Emails, meetings, traffic, conversations, decisions, deadlines. Your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for planning, rational thought, and executive function, is engaged. It is occupied. Now think of your anxiety as a signal. A radio signal constantly broadcasting. During the day, that signal is one of many. Your brain is processing dozens of inputs simultaneously. The anxiety signal is there, but it is competing with everything else. You might not even notice it fully. At night, every other input disappears. The emails stop. The conversations end. The decisions are over. Your prefrontal cortex has nothing left to process. And in that silence, the anxiety signal is the only thing broadcasting. It doesn't get louder. Your brain gets quieter around it. But the effect is the same. It feels enormous. It feels overwhelming. It feels like it came from nowhere. It didn't come from nowhere. It was there all day. You just couldn't hear it. I want you to sit with that for a second. Because for a lot of people, understanding this is the first time they stop thinking something is wrong with me at night and start thinking my brain is doing something predictable. That shift matters. We'll come back to why. Now here is something that surprises almost every patient I share this with. The same mechanism that makes anxiety worse at night is the reason that anxious people often feel better when they're busy. You've probably noticed this. When you have a project to focus on, a trip to plan, a crisis to handle, the anxiety quiets down. People sometimes feel guilty about that, like they're avoiding their problems. They're not. Their brain is genuinely processing a lower anxiety signal because the attentional resources are occupied elsewhere. This is not a coping mechanism. This is neurology. The second reason is something that almost nobody mentions when they talk about nighttime anxiety, and it is one of the most important. It has to do with cortisol. Most people know cortisol as the stress hormone, something that spikes when you're in a difficult situation. That's accurate. But cortisol does something else that is less well known. It follows a daily rhythm. Cortisol is naturally highest in the morning, typically peaking within the first hour after you wake up. This is called the cortisol awakening response. It is what actually wakes you up. It sharpens your focus, primes your alertness, and prepares your system for the demands of the day. Throughout the day, cortisol gradually drops. By evening, it reaches its lowest point in the 24-hour cycle. Now here is the clinical significance of that fact. Cortisol, among its many functions, acts as a partial buffer against the stress response. It is not a sedative, but it plays a role in regulating the intensity of your threat response system. When cortisol is low, as it is every evening for every person, that buffering effect is reduced. Your nervous system is neurochemically more sensitive to anxiety triggers at night. Not because something is wrong with you, not because your anxiety is getting worse, but because your hormonal state at 11 p.m. is categorically different from your hormonal state at 11 a.m. Research documented extensively by the National Institute of Mental Health has confirmed this cortisol pattern across populations and its relationship to worsening of anxiety symptoms in the evening hours. This is not controversial. This is established physiology. What it means practically is this. The anxiety you feel at night is not an accurate report of how much danger you are in. It is partly, significantly, a reflection of where you are in your cortisol cycle. Your 2 a.m. assessment of your problems is being made by a nervous system that is operating with less hormonal buffering than it had 12 hours ago. Your problems have not gotten worse overnight. Your brain's ability to modulate the fear response has temporarily decreased. That is a biological fact, not a personal failure. I want to pause here for a second, because I'm aware that some of you are watching this at night. Right now, while this is happening to you, and I want to say directly, what you are experiencing has a name. It has a mechanism. It has an explanation. You are not losing your mind. Keep watching. The third reason is what I describe to my patients as the planning trap. And this one, when people hear it, they almost always say that is exactly what happens to me. Your brain has a system, a cognitive function, called prospective memory. It is the mental mechanism responsible for remembering future intentions. Don't forget to call back tomorrow. You still haven't responded to that email. The appointment is on Thursday. Don't forget to confirm it. You need to figure out the finances. That conversation with your partner is unresolved. This system is running in the background all day. But during the day, it competes with everything else your brain is doing. It gets pushed to the side. You tell yourself, consciously or not, I'll deal with that later. Night is later. When the external demands disappear and your brain finally has nothing left to process, the prospective memory system interprets that quiet as an opportunity. It begins to surface everything unresolved, everything incomplete, everything you told yourself you would deal with later. Here's the problem. At midnight, there is nothing you can do about most of these things. The action is impossible. The hour is wrong. The people are asleep. The offices are closed. The decisions cannot be made. But your brain does not know that. Your brain is not trying to torture you. It is trying to help you. It is doing exactly what it was designed to do, flagging unresolved items and bringing them to your attention. The problem is the timing. The problem is that your brain's scheduling system and your body's rest system are in direct conflict every single night. And understanding that, truly understanding that your brain is trying to help you and getting the timing completely wrong, is the beginning of a different relationship with what happens at night. There is also a secondary effect here that I want to name. When the planning trap activates and you cannot act on anything, you begin to catastrophize. Not because you are a catastrophic thinker, but because your brain, trying to solve problems it cannot solve, starts running simulations. Worst-case scenarios. What if this goes wrong? What if I can't handle that? What if everything falls apart? These are not predictions. They are your brain's frustrated attempts to find a solution to problems it cannot currently solve. When you understand them that way, as frustrated problem solving, not prophecy, they lose some of their power. I want to address something that I hear constantly, both in my clinic and in what my patients have read online. The idea that if your anxiety is worse at night, it means something is seriously wrong. That it means your anxiety is getting worse. That it means treatment isn't working. That it means you are beyond help. I understand why this belief exists. When anxiety spikes at night, it is frightening. It feels out of control. It feels disproportionate to anything rational. And in the absence of an explanation, people fill that gap with the most frightening interpretation available. But here is what 15 years of clinical practice and the research literature both clearly show. Nighttime worsening of anxiety is one of the most common, most documented, most universal features of anxiety disorders. It does not mean you are getting worse. It does not mean your medication isn't working. It does not mean you are beyond help. It means your nervous system is responding to a completely predictable set of neurological conditions that occur every night in millions of people. Knowing this does not make it disappear, but it changes what you make it mean. And what you make it mean changes everything about how you experience it. A patient came to see me. I'll call her Sarah. Early 30s. Works in a demanding professional environment. By every external measure, she was doing well. Promoted twice in 3 years. Described by colleagues as calm under pressure. The person her team came to when things got difficult. She came to see me describing something she said she had never said out loud. She said, "I feel like a fraud. I hold it together all day. I manage everything. And the second I get into bed, I fall apart. And I don't understand why I can do the hard things, but I can't do the easy things." She had tried everything she could find. Meditation apps, journaling, cutting out caffeine, exercise in the evening, sleep hygiene protocols she had read about online. Some things helped slightly. Nothing resolved it. And more than the anxiety itself, what was wearing her down was the story she was telling herself about what it meant. That she was weak, that she was failing, that everyone else had figured something out that she hadn't. What we worked on first, before any technique, before any treatment adjustment, was exactly what I've shared with you today. The mechanism, the why. When she understood that her brain was doing something predictable and explainable, not evidence of weakness, not evidence of failure, something shifted. She told me in our next session, "I still have the anxiety at night, but I'm not as afraid of it, because I understand it now." And it's harder to be terrified of something when you understand what it is. That is where the work begins. I want to give you 3 things you can actually do. Not a list of 10, not a wellness protocol. 3 specific, evidence-based things that I recommend to my patients dealing with nighttime anxiety. The first is scheduled worry time. This sounds counterintuitive, but the research supports it, including work out of Penn State University on stimulus control and anxiety-related sleep disruption. Set aside 15 to 20 minutes in the early evening, not close to bedtime, specifically for your concerns. Write them down. Let yourself think about them fully. Then close the notebook. What this does neurologically is it gives the prospective memory system a dedicated window. Over time, and it takes consistency, your brain learns that there is a time and place for this processing. It becomes less insistent at midnight. The second is working with the body before working with the mind. When anxiety has already spiked, when you are already in it, trying to think your way out rarely works. The prefrontal cortex is being flooded by signals from the amygdala, the brain's threat detection system. You cannot reason your way past a fire alarm. Instead, work with the body first. Extended exhale breathing. Inhale for 4 counts. Exhale for 6 to 8 counts. Longer out than in. This is not a relaxation technique. This is a direct physiological intervention. The extended exhale activates the vagus nerve, which stimulates the parasympathetic nervous system, your body's rest and digest response. It works at a level below conscious thought, which is exactly what you need when conscious thought is the problem. The third thing, and this is what I mentioned at the beginning, is the thing that changes how my patients experience everything else. Stop trying to stop the anxiety. I know that sounds wrong. Stay with me. The single most counterproductive thing that anxious people do at night is fight the anxiety. Resistance amplifies it. Every time you tell yourself stop thinking about this, your brain focuses on it more. Every time you try to force calm, your nervous system registers the effort as a threat signal. What works differently is this. Watch it. Name it. There's the planning loop. There's the cortisol drop. My brain is doing the predictable thing again. Not with frustration. Not with resignation. With the calm observation of someone who now understands exactly what they are watching. You are not your anxiety. You are the person who is watching it. And the moment you can watch it rather than fight it, its power to overwhelm you begins to change. Before I close, if what I've described today is significantly affecting your sleep, your relationships, your ability to function, please have a conversation with a mental health professional. What I've shared today is educational context. Your specific situation deserves individual clinical attention. And if you are in crisis right now, if the anxiety has moved into something that feels like more than you can carry tonight, please call or text 988. That is the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. Available 24 hours a day. Free. Confidential. You do not have to be in immediate danger to call. You just have to need support. That is enough. What I want you to take away from this video is not a technique. It is a reframe. Your anxiety at night is not evidence that something is fundamentally wrong with you. It is a predictable neurological response to predictable conditions that occur every single night. Your brain is not broken. It is doing exactly what an anxious brain does, in exactly the conditions that make it do it most. You are not weak. You are not failing. You are not beyond help. You are someone whose nervous system learned to respond to the world in a particular way. And that can change. It changes slowly. It changes with support. It changes with understanding. But it changes. I make these videos because the questions my patients bring to me deserve better answers than most people find when they search online at 2 in the morning. If this gave you something useful, subscribe so you see the next one. And if there is something specific you want me to address, a question you have carried that nobody has answered properly, leave it in the comments. I read them. Take care of yourself tonight.